And that is all the books that I read in January. That is all of my books just fell. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my monthly wrap up for January. So starting off the month, I actually started reading Legends and Lattes. I know this book was really popular for a little bit, so I actually at the end of December read Bookshelves and Boneses, which is actually the prequel to this series. So I read that one first. I think I actually enjoyed that one a little bit more than this one, but this one was still really good, and I gave it 4.5 stars. So basically the premise of this book, it's a cozy fantasy, which I've never read before, but I actually really enjoyed it, which I thought that it'd be kind of boring and like not a lot happening. It definitely kept my interest throughout the book, and I was intrigued by the characters and what they were doing. So basically the main character, V, she's an orc, and she decides after a long time of battling and everything, she wants to retire basically. She goes to this like little town and she decides to open up a coffee shop. Everybody there is like, what is coffee? Like, what are you doing? This is not gonna go well for you. And she's like, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to everybody. I'm gonna do my own thing and I'm gonna open my coffee shop. And so throughout the time she's opening up this coffee shop, at first the menu is really small. She's just selling like just coffee. It doesn't really do that well yet. She meets Andrew. Andrew decides to help her out and they end up becoming friends and a little bit of lovers there. They work together, build this coffee shop. Throughout the story they run into different ways to better the coffee shop. So like they add different things to the menu. They end up getting some baked goods. They get a baker. He's cutest little character. He's like a little mouse and he bakes, and they get better equipment, and so all this stuff happens and they end up getting a very successful coffee shop together. It's just a cute little story and I loved it. Okay, so this is the first book that I've ever read by Lynn Painter, and I'm so glad that I started off with this book because I freaking love this book so much. And I got the Barnes & Noble exclusive one. So pretty, by the way. So the main character, Emily, she basically gets stuck in this time loop, hence the do-over, and she has to relive Valentine's Day over and over again. Throughout this, she's going through all these different things that happen. Her entire world just like turns upside down. She crashes into this guy. She ends up seeing her boyfriend cheat on her on Valentine's Day. She also finds out that her dad is moving. So like all this stuff happens and she has to relive it over and over again. The message of the story is what I really enjoyed the most because she was always living for everybody else, and towards the end of the book she learns to live for herself and do what she enjoys to do and be herself and not this like girl that everybody else wants her to be. So I thought that it was a really interesting message to the story as well. So it was an amazing book. 5 stars, 6 stars even. I loved it so much, and I'm definitely gonna be reading more by this author. I had Bonecryer's Moon on my TBR for quite a while. I had it like on my, like every time I see it in the store I was like, I want to read that, but then I just never picked it up. Finally picked it up and I was pleasantly surprised. It's an interesting concept. I read both books and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know that it has some mixed reviews. Some people don't like it, some people do. I was one of those people that did enjoy it. So the first book, 3 main characters. Aless is a bone crier. Bastian, his father was killed by a bone crier. He wants to kill a bone crier to get revenge for his father. Aless's rite of passage is to kill her MRE, which is basically like your true love, like soulmate kind of thing. Does her ritual and Bastian ends up coming. So she thinks that Bastian is her MRE and that she has to kill him. And this is perfect for him because he wants to kill her too. So they have like a whole fight and they want to kill each other. And while all of this is happening, Sabine trying to find out what happened to her friend. So it's like a whole 3-way thing of these characters and the different things that they're going through. The thing that really captured me with this though is bone criers. They're so interesting. The magic system, they have these bones that give them these certain powers. Each night on a full moon they have to ferry these lost souls. So it's just a really interesting concept and I really grasped onto it. A lot happens in this book. Towards the end I was like, the last 100 pages I could not put this book down. I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? So then this book comes along. The events of the previous book fall into this book and it's just a whole like ride, and it was gripping me. I was invested. It was good fantasy. It had really interesting characters. The magic system was the best part. So I picked this one up while I was working at Barnes & Noble, and I just thought it was really interesting. I love Vikings and Norse mythology. It has all of the sagas and tales of the gods, the treasures of the gods, the master builder, the children of Loki, the meet of poets. So there's just like all these little short stories, how certain things come to be. So this just really captured me, and I thought it was really interesting to learn about. So I ended up finishing the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I have been wanting to read Six of Crows for the longest time. Everybody says to read it first, so I did. It wasn't the best fantasy book I've ever read. It was still really good. The world building in these books is kind of where it's at. Concept is also pretty cool. I enjoyed the whole thing with like the darkness and the fold and the Grisha. It's a really cool concept. Alina as a main character kind of got on my nerves a little bit sometimes. Still a good fantasy read. I enjoyed it. Like if you want fantasy, it's right here. It's not like life-changing series for me. It was just an enjoyable fantasy. So okay, so I tried to go outside my comfort zone with We Were Liars. This book is about the Sinclairs, and they're like a rich family. They're picture perfect. You see what they are on the outside, but on the inside there's a lot of lies and twists and just a lot of like secrets being hidden, not good family stuff going on. She has this like head injury. She doesn't remember what happened, and nobody will tell her what happened, so she has to relive these memories and try to remember what happened to her. I couldn't do it. I tried. I read the book. I thought that it was just a really interesting concept, but I was really bored and confused. I was really confused. The timeline was just like really hard to follow for me. It was just hard for me to get into. I know that a lot of people are like, oh my god, like the plot twist. The plot twist really didn't shock me. I was just like, oh, okay. I don't know, like I didn't really have like a big reaction to this book. Like it didn't change me in any way. I'm kind of disappointed. I wanted to like this. I really wanted to like it, but I just couldn't. Interesting the way that it's written, but I don't think I'll be continuing. I know that there's a prequel to this and I wanted to read it, but I don't think I would enjoy it because I didn't enjoy the first book. Everything. I know this book like kind of came out a while back, I think. So this book came out in 2017. Been a while, but I'm just now getting around to it. The main character, Madeline, she has a disease. She basically can't go outside or she'll die. Like she's allergic to everything. And a boy moves in next door and she is intrigued by this boy, and his name is Ollie. They end up getting each other's like email and they are talking back and forth, and they become friends and they start falling in love. She can't go outside and she can't interact with anybody, so how are they gonna be in love, you know? Really enjoyed this. It was a really quick read. There's like all these like cute little drawings, like the phone, that's so cute. It kept me engaged. I like the characters. A nice refresher in between all the fantasy that I've been reading, so I really thoroughly enjoyed this. Divine Rivals. I know this one is very popular, but for good reason. I think it was worth the hype. So basically, if you don't know about this book and you've been living under a rock, so Iris's brother a long time ago, Forrest, he goes out to the war. Her mom kind of becomes a drug addict, so she's basically like raising herself. She's kind of poor, and so she like really needs this job, so she's working so hard to get to this promotion. Her rival Kit is also going for this promotion, and he is just kind of annoying. Like he's like, I recommend this book so much. I cannot stress this enough. Please go read this book. I would describe it as poetry but fantasy. The way that Rebecca Ross writes is so poetic. The way that the characters speak, the way that they write each other letters is just so beautifully worded. I don't know what else to say about it. It's incredible. Go read it. Okay, so I read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. It was a good refresher in between the fantasy. I did enjoy it, but now that I'm like actually thinking about it and trying to like do a review on it, I don't really remember much of the plot and what happened. Definitely a book that did not stick with me after. It's been like a week or two since I finished it and I don't remember it. The characters did not really stick with me. In the moment, I enjoyed the book. So lastly, I read Below Zero. It was just a really short story, little romance by Ali Hazelwood. I ended up not liking it as much as I enjoyed the other short stories by her. I really enjoyed, I think it was Stuck With You. That one was probably my favorite out of all the stories that she did, but this one just didn't really, it wasn't very memorable at all. So that is all the books that I read in January. I read 13 books. It is the most books that I've ever read in a month, and it was a really good reading month. So as a little recap, the books that really just like stuck with me the most this month was the Do-Over and Divine Rivals. These two books were just, they spoke to me the most. I enjoyed them, I remember them, the characters stuck with me, and I was just having a good time reading this book, so I definitely recommend these ones. Be sure to follow my book talk and my Goodreads so we can be book besties. Comment down below if you have read any of these books, if you had some recommendations, how many books you read in the month of January. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys all later. Bye!